Okay, so let's unpack this a bit. This is our 50th deep dive, believe it or not, and we're doing something a little different this time. We're pausing the usual historical journey through the built environment, taking a breath. And this isn't just, well, any milestone, right? It's really an opportunity for a kind of mid-century review, looking at where the construction industry actually stands today, right now, a real-time snapshot, essentially, of the foundations being laid. And not just the physical foundations, but also, practices, people, and importantly, our planet.
Yeah, and a key insight here, I think, is that we're sort of convening a roundtable of insights we've drawn from a whole stack of diverse sources to really try and understand the most pressing challenges, but also the exciting opportunities. So this isn't just a look back, it's meant to be a candid, forward-looking conversation, thinking about that complex interplay of forces shaping our world, economic, environmental, and, yeah, those crucial human elements, too.
Right. Our mission today is really to cut through some of the noise, offer a curated synthesis, if you like, to help you deepen your understanding of this massive industry, and maybe connect some dots between things we've talked about in past deep dives and the urgent realities on a modern job site. So get ready for maybe a few aha moments as we distill what truly matters in this dynamic sector. Okay, so today, we'll be tackling four critical pillars, as we see them, that define the contemporary construction industry. First up, the persistent skilled labor shortage. It's still here, and there's this urgent, ongoing need to attract a new generation to the trades. Second, we'll dive into the productivity puzzle. Why construction has lagged behind other industries in efficiency gains for so long, and how technology, specifically contact construction technology, is, well, maybe finally making a tangible difference. Our third pillar tackles the industry's huge environmental footprint and its critical role, really, in addressing climate change. And finally, we'll examine the shifting landscape of risk. Think volatile supply chains, evolving contractual models, all that stuff that dictates how projects get conceived and delivered.
And to connect this to the bigger picture, like you said, these aren't isolated issues at all. They're deeply interconnected. They reflect an industry that's grappling with, well, rapid change and immense responsibility. So we'll explore not just what is happening, but try to get into why it matters. Why it matters to everyone, really. From policymakers and developers shaping cities, right down to you, maybe planning your next home or just, living and working in the built environment. Understanding these shifts is key, I think, to grasping the future of our physical world, how we interact with it.
Okay, let's start with people. Imagine a bustling construction site in, say, 2024. You see the cranes, the steel rising, but underneath all that activity, there's this persistent challenge. Just not enough skilled hands. The labor shortage isn't just the statistic you read about. It's this profound human element shaping the whole industry. And to really grasp the urgency, we actually need to understand its roots, which go surprisingly deep. Hashtag, the persistent labor shortage and its roots. Yeah, our sources take us back, way back actually, to Frederick Winslow Taylor, early 20th century. Scientific management. And this wasn't just a new way to organize work, it was like a fundamental shift, almost a philosophical realignment of labor. Taylor's core idea basically was to centralize all the knowledge within management. Workers were then kind of reduced to simply following minute instructions. The thinking was this makes it easier to replace skilled labor with less skilled, lower paid workers. He explicitly advocated, and this is a quote, that all possible brain work should be removed from the shop and centered in the planning or laying out department. Yeah. It fundamentally changed the nature of blue-collar work, didn't it, by trying to strip away that intellectual component.
It's really striking when you put it like that. This management philosophy, it directly contributed to what some scholars call the degradation of blue-collar work.
Hmm.
Because, exactly as you said, by separating the intellectual part, the planning, the problem-solving, that deep craft understanding from the physical execution, well, the implicit assumption was that efficiency comes from minimizing worker judgment.
Right, rather than fostering it, encouraging it.
Precisely. And this historical shift, you can see how it laid the groundwork for a kind of disinterest in the trades over time. The work started being perceived as less engaging, maybe less intellectually stimulating, and therefore, well, less appealing for ambitious people. Think about the contrast our sources draw with, say, a traditional machinist, where, quote, the worker's failing is sitting on the bench, staring both parties in the face.
Huh. Yeah, very direct feedback loop there.
Incredibly direct, tangible, undeniable feedback. And that fosters this profound sense of direct responsibility, of mastery. And Taylorism, with its focus on external control, minute instructions, It just gradually eroded that. The work became less about personal expertise, ingenuity, problem solving.
And more about just following a script written by someone else.
Exactly, following a prescribed, often repetitive procedure.
That's such a powerful point about the intellectual core being removed. So, if the brain work was consciously taken out, how do we actually put it back in a tangible way, a way that genuinely attracts ambitious young people today, beyond just, talking about craft? This deep dive really forces us to consider those long-term, maybe subtle consequences of prioritizing cost reduction and sort of interchangeable labor over the intrinsic value and the intellectual engagement of skilled work. It's a legacy we're absolutely still grappling with today. You see it influencing educational choices, career perceptions, hashtag tag too. The call to re-embrace craft and purpose. So, okay, if we acknowledge that intellectual core was diminished, how do we rebuild it? How do we attract that new generation? Our sources suggest it requires reinstilling a sense of purpose and highlighting the inherent satisfaction that comes from creating, from, shaping the future in architectural practice, as one source puts it. Samuel Florman, for instance, highlights how engineers find existential gratification, love that phrase, in contributing to society. In understanding the stuff of the universe, solving problems, seeing something through to a finished product. It's about recognizing that existential thrill in designing, fabricating, and using physical objects. Mm-hmm.
And that really resonates with Le Corbusier's observation of a collective spirit, where workers take legitimate pride in the finished thing, like, imagining them saying, our car did that. That kind of pride feels maybe increasingly rare in some of today's fragmented workflows.
Absolutely. And to build on that, Louis Ape Sullivan, the visionary architect, he emphasized that true freedom comes through self-discipline of self-power, which is fostered, he said, by observation, reflection, discriminate.
So it's not just about manual skill.
Not at all. It's about critical thinking, continuous learning, that intellectual engagement with the material, the process. Frank Lloyd Wright, another giant, he demonstrated that perseverance and creativity can lead to innovative solutions. I mean, the story about him logging his own timber for Taliesin West when supplies were scarce.
Yeah, that's fantastic. It really brings home that spirit, doesn't it? Ingenuity, determination when facing shortages. It's problem solving at its best. It speaks to a really profound connection with the materials and the process. And you see this historical respect in things like Moxon's mechanic exercises, with its detailed descriptions of tools and processes, or the recognition of men of genius, like Villard de Honnecourt and the cathedral builders. It underscores this deep-seated respect for precision, skill, creative contribution that really needs a modern revival. This isn't just about hands-on work, it's the whole intellectual and creative journey. And actually, many modern apprenticeship programs are trying to re-emphasize exactly that, focusing on problem-solving, holistic understanding of a project's life cycle.
So it's really about reconnecting the physical act of building with the intellectual act of problem-solving and creation, making it whole again. But okay, moving from recognizing individual skill and purpose, how do we foster this in a team? A collaborative, team-based environment, which is, let's face it, increasingly the reality of large-scale, complex construction today. The workforce of tomorrow isn't just individual craftspeople, it's about dynamic, adaptive teams working together. Hashtag B. Cultivating a diverse and adaptive workforce. Hashtag one. Modern leadership and team structures.
Yeah, as projects get bigger and more complex, those old top-down hierarchical models often just don't cut it anymore. They become inefficient. The project management body of knowledge, the PMBOK guide, it really emphasizes identifying, analyzing, and proactively engaging with stakeholders. And doing that from the very start right through to the end of the project helps enable success. That makes sense. It talks about self-organized project teams, where the facilitator role might even shift among team members depending on the need. And here's a key concept that jumped out: servant leadership.
This style, it's not command and control. It focuses on understanding and addressing the needs and development of project team members, the goal being to enable the highest possible project team performance. It's also about figuring out, how, when, how often, and under what circumstances stakeholders want to be and should be engaged.
And connecting that to the bigger picture, it really represents a significant philosophical shift, doesn't it? Moving away from rigid top-down structures towards something more fluid, more empowering. Servant leadership especially seems like a direct counter to that brainwork removal of Taylorism we talked about.
Good point.
It fosters an environment where team members are actively encouraged to reach their full potential, to contribute their intellectual capital, not just, their physical labor. And that means prioritizing engagement through things like frequent two-way communication, interactive meetings, face-to-face meetings, informal dialogue, knowledge-sharing activities. All these actions build stronger relationships. They cultivate genuine collective problem-solving. It transforms a group of individuals into a really cohesive, high-performing team. It's about building trust and shared ownership, not just barking orders.
Yeah, that sounds like a breath of fresh air for a lot of industries, construction included. For someone like you, listening, navigating complex professional landscapes, these dynamics offer maybe a fresh lens, a way to examine leadership, not just in construction, but in any team-based work you do. How might this challenge your current thinking on team structures, or even how you might lead your next project? It does raise an important question, though. Is the construction industry really ready? Is it ready to embrace these evolving leadership ideas across the board? Or are there still some deeply ingrained habits, maybe cultural norms that need shifting first? Hashtag, tag, 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 too. Lifelong learning and adaptability. Okay, so beyond leadership styles, the very nature of learning and knowledge in the industry is also changing, isn't it? Frank Lloyd Wright himself, interestingly, critiqued conventional educational methods that focus on rote learning and standardized practices. He advocated instead for independent thought, creativity, and a deeper understanding of the principles of design and nature. And that sentiment feels incredibly relevant today as we grapple with meeting a workforce that can constantly evolve in a rapidly changing industry.
Indeed. And consider the insights from Stuart Brand's book, How Buildings Learn. It's fascinating. It highlights that traditional as-builts, those final plans of a finished building, are often at least 10% wrong right from day one.
10%. Wow.
Yeah, and that inherent inaccuracy then just multiplies maintenance and remodeling costs over the building's entire life. So the solution isn't just better record keeping at the end. It needs close, sustained attention throughout. Dynamic records kept in the finest detail that reflect the building as it actually is and as it changes. And this isn't just some administrative chore. It requires a workforce capable of continuous learning, continuous adaptation, moving beyond that initial trade school or university degree to a mindset where problem-solving and critical thinking are just paramount, always learning. The Construction Management Association of America, CMA standards, even recommend having a lead accredited professional on staff.
Yep.
And that the construction manager should educate the owner on BIM, building information modeling.
Right, keeping everyone up to speed.
Exactly. It underscores that meticulous documentation, updating project info like as-built and maintenance logs, aren't just tasks. They require skilled people who understand the building's whole life cycle, its evolving needs. And this is precisely where those knowledge experts, architects, engineers, contractors, fabricators become invaluable. The ones who truly understand the information content of an exchange, especially with all these digital standards coming in. They're the ones who could bridge that gap between the initial design intent and the long-term dynamic reality of a building, ensuring its performance, its value over time.
So we're talking about a workforce that doesn't just build things, but continuously learns and adapts along with the building itself, constantly feeding and updating the knowledge base of that structure. That's a fascinating idea. And as they do this, these adaptable skills become deeply interwoven with the sophisticated tools and technologies now transforming the industry, which brings us right to that challenge that's plagued construction for decades. The productivity puzzle. Right? The productivity puzzle. For decades, construction has faced criticism, hasn't it? Lagging behind other sectors in productivity gains. It's been a real head-scratcher, especially given the scale and complexity of the projects. But now, it seems technology, specifically Contech, is finally beginning to, well, move the needle, offering solutions that maybe just a few years ago seemed pretty futuristic. Hashtag tag 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 A. Overcoming historical stagnation. Hashtag tag 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 1. The limitations of traditional approaches. But to really appreciate the progress we're starting to see, we first need to understand the stagnation, why things were stuck. Traditional network-based scheduling techniques, things like critical path method, CPM, while they can generate feasible schedules, they often offer limited insights. And that's because, our sources point out, they make several big implicit assumptions, like activities are treated as self-contained with a single start and finish date. Siloed.
Right. And they interact only through these dates. And crucially, only its duration and position within the link structure matter. But actual physical work product that is produced in this time frame is not directly tracked.
And this productivity puzzle, why construction historically lagged, can largely be explained by these fundamental limitations. By not directly tracking the physical output or those complex, often nonlinear interdependencies beyond simple start-finish dates. Traditional methods just miss crucial opportunities for optimization, for early problem detection. It's like trying to manage a complex chemical reaction by only noting when you added each ingredient and when the final product appeared, with no idea what happened in between.
Yeah, good analogy.
It often leads to projects falling behind schedule, even when individual tasks seem to be running okay on paper. Think about the sheer complexity of ensuring a highly coordinated and smooth-running project through something like the submittal review
Oh
process.
yeah, that can be a bottleneck. Huge bottleneck, where tiny details have to be checked for things like reinforcing steel and structural steel shop drawings, or comprehensive door schedules. It's time-consuming, absolutely critical, but frequently held up by traditional fragmented information exchange. The actual work product, its intricate relationship to everything else, its real-time progress. It just wasn't granularly tracked in those older, often siloed systems.
That inherent lack of kind of holistic real-time tracking really highlights the urgent need for a more integrated, data-rich approach. And this, thankfully, is precisely where building information modeling, or BIM, comes into the picture. When I first started digging into BIM for this, the scale of the shift really jumped out. We hear the term paradigm shift thrown around a lot, but this genuinely feels like one for construction. Building information modeling, BIM technology, represents a paradigm shift from drawing to modeling. It moves way beyond just computer-aided drafting, CAD. At its core, BIM is essentially a digital database. Objects, spaces, facility characteristics are all defined and stored in it, making it uniquely capable of supporting both qualitative and quantitative analyses. But it's more than just a tool, isn't it? It also facilitates and is facilitated by a concurrent shift. A shift away from traditional, often competitive project delivery models towards more collaborative practices across the whole industry.
Absolutely. And what truly stands out here is that BIM is not just a 3D model. That's a common misconception. It's an intelligent information source. It's a virtual representation of a physical facility that holds rich, detailed data about every single component.
Okay.
And this allows for incredible precision right from the earliest stages: feasibility, concept design through design development, and deep into construction detailing. And that collaborative shift you mentioned is absolutely crucial. BIM thrives when information flows seamlessly, transparently between all the stakeholders: architects, engineers, contractors, fabricators, everyone working from the same intelligent model. Now, one of the industry's big challenges, as our sources point out, is that in AEC architecture, engineering, and construction, no one organization has the economic clout or knowledge to define effective interoperability for the whole industry.
Right, no single standard setter.
Exactly. So this means that user-defined exchange standards become an imperative. It requires collaborative efforts across the industry to define precise terms, things like R values for insulation, lumens for lighting, thermal breaks in walls, withes in masonry, making sure everyone is speaking the exact same digital language, regardless of the software they're using.
So it's really about creating this shared intelligent model, a single source of truth that everyone contributes to and draws from, transforming a project from just a collection of isolated drawings into a unified digital twin. That's powerful. And you can see this in how 3D parametric objects capture both design intent and construction management, CM information, linking directly to task schedules, material tracking. And it's not just for the huge firms either, right? Tools like Rhino and Grasshopper are described as very open systems, allowing easy user customization, even for people with little or no computing background, apparently, for doing generative workflows.
Yeah, the accessibility is increasing.
Which showcases the power, but also the growing accessibility of these tools, democratizing complex modeling in a way. So, okay, what does this all actually mean for daily operations, for project management? How is Contact being applied in the field right now? Okay, moving from the theory to the practical stuff. Contact is genuinely enhancing planning and execution on job sites. BIM, for example, offers clash detection. This checks for intersecting volumes in virtual space, often using third-party apps to combine models from disparate sources, like the architect's model, the structural engineers, the MEP engineers. And it ensures that, a pipe isn't modeled to run straight through a steel beam, or an HVAC duct isn't fighting for space with electrical conduit before it happens on site.
Crucial.
Then there are 4D BIM scheduling applications. These dynamically link the project's CPM schedule, that critical path sequence, to the 3D objects in the BIM model. This gives you this graphically rich and animated representation of the planned construction sequence set against time. You can literally watch the building come together virtually. And finally, 5D cost management capabilities. This allows every element in the BIM model to be attributed to what it will actually represent in terms of resources and respective costs, leading, theoretically, to a more accurate estimate.
And these capabilities, they move Contact way beyond just making pretty pictures. This is about proactive, data-driven problem solving and optimization. Clash detection, as you said, identifies conflicts before they happen on site. That prevents incredibly costly rework, material waste, significant schedule
Yeah,
delays.
the cost of fixing it in the field is huge.
Yeah, astronomical sometimes. It shifts conflict resolution from a messy, expensive on-site discovery to a clean, cheap, virtual fix. 4D scheduling. That's a powerful tool for phasing, coordinating, and communicating planned work, all sorts of different audiences, and allows for simulated what-if scenarios. You can optimize workflows, identify potential bottlenecks before they occur. You can virtually build the project multiple times to find the most efficient sequence.
Like a flight simulator for construction?
Kind of. And the 5D cost integration, by linking costs directly into the model components, it transforms estimating, takes it from a manual, time-consuming, often error-prone process into something dynamic, parametric. And this frees up estimators to do crucial cost estimate analysis, to actually analyze the drivers of cost, explore alternatives rather than just counting things. And the benefits go way beyond the initial construction phase, too. Consider that Coast Guard facility planning case study our sources mentioned. They recorded a 98% reduction in time and effort to produce and update the facility management database just by using a BIM model.
98%. That's staggering.
It really illustrates the immense value across the entire building lifecycle, impacting long-term operations, maintenance, by providing this continuously updated, intelligent digital twin.
That is an astonishing number. It really shows the value beyond the build itself. So this comprehensive integration, it dramatically improves project control predictability, addressing those core elements of the productivity puzzle by making processes demonstrably more efficient and effective, right across the board. #####2, lean construction and data-driven decisions. And Contech also works hand in glove with powerful methodologies like lean construction, doesn't it? The last planner system, LPS for instance, was specifically inspired by that chronically low workflow reliability in construction. Where too many planned tasks just couldn't get done because of upstream issues, missing materials, lack of info.
The make-ready process.
Exactly. So LPS focused on improving this reliability through things like coordinated weekly work plans, ensuring tasks are well-defined, sound, sequenced, and sized to performer capabilities, making sure they can actually be done. This led to crucial practices like look-ahead planning, identifying and removing constraints days or weeks in advance, making sure what should be done can be done, and pull planning, detailing the master schedule phase by phase, but in reverse, starting from the end goal to optimize flow, minimize waste. Another key aspect is work structuring, figuring out in what chunks will work be assigned to specialists, how will work chunks be sequenced, and how will work be released smoothly between different teams or production units.
Yeah, the LPS, by focusing so meticulously on how to do what we say we're going to do, significantly improves percent plan complete, PPC. That's a key metric for workflow reliability. And it boosts overall labor productivity, too. That addition of look-ahead and pull planning ensures the right tasks are ready at the right time. Optimizing sequencing, optimizing the rate of work, it just makes the workflow on-site much smoother, much more predictable.
Yeah.
And work structuring, that's particularly interesting. It moves beyond just traditional contracts and craft boundaries to try and optimize the entire production process holistically. That's a critical departure from those fragmented, siloed approaches we often see.
Thinking systemically.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's a crucial application of systems thinking to the construction workflow, aiming for total efficiency. And BIM, as that central digital database, inherently supports this. It provides the data needed for engineering analysis, structural, energy, daylighting, which informs these lean decisions. And having a robust management information system is vital too, keeping the team informed about overall project status and forecast compared to the project management plan, and flagging problem areas before they escalate. It really is about data-driven continuous improvement, creating a more predictable, more efficient job site.
It's clear that this combination lean principles and advanced technology is profoundly changing how projects are managed and executed, shifting from just reacting to problems to proactively optimizing the whole flow. But as we harness these powerful tools and refine our processes, it becomes increasingly obvious that the impacts of our projects, especially the environmental impacts, those things once considered side effects, they have to be understood and integrated right from the beginning. Which brings us neatly to our third pillar. Building responsibly. Okay, sustainability. The construction industry, just by its very nature, digging things up, processing materials, building stuff, has always had a massive impact on the environment. But what was maybe once considered, collateral damage or side effects is now absolutely a core concern. And it's driving this profound shift towards sustainability across the entire globe. Hashtag, tag, A, addressing construction's impact. Hashtag, one, the urgent need for change. To consider something as fundamental as stone quarrying. Our sources note that even though it provides a plentiful but finite resource, it causes huge disruption of drainage, vegetation, and wildlife habitat, with detrimental impacts that can long outlive the buildings themselves, long after the quarry is closed. And here's a really crucial concept from systems thinking that our sources highlight. The term side effects is actually a fundamental misconception.
It implies, effects which I hadn't foreseen or don't want to think about, when in reality, in a complex, interconnected system like our planet, there are effectively non-existent boundaries. Everything is linked.
And what truly stands out there is that the construction industry's immense environmental footprint just cannot be relegated to these mislabeled side effects anymore, or unforeseen consequences. It demands a genuinely holistic approach, where impacts from extracting raw materials right through to the building's long-term operation and eventual demolition are considered integral to the project's success, right from the first sketch. Practices like reclamation, revegetation, land reshaping, habitat restoration, they're now essential steps in responsible development, not optional extras, trying to heal the land afterwards.
Right. Stewardship. Exactly. And we can even look way back, like to 16th century Venice, where massive land reclamation projects were driven by, quote, necessity and capitalist reason to turn malarial marshland into a profitable enterprise.
Okay.
So large-scale environmental transformation for societal benefit isn't entirely new, but our modern understanding of the complexities, the long-term consequences, the ethical dimensions, that has deepened significantly. The interconnectedness of our actions with the environment is just undeniable now. Pretending otherwise isn't really an option anymore.
Which really raises an important question, doesn't it? How can we shift from just mitigating damage to proactively designing for ecological regeneration, actually leaving things better than we found them? For someone like you, listening, navigating complex projects, what impact does considering these non-existent boundaries have on how you approach things? Whether it's building a house or developing a new product, it really calls for reframing our whole perspective on responsibility. Hashtag, tag, two, green building goes mainstream. Well, the good news, I suppose, is that green building isn't just a niche concept anymore. It seems to have really hit the mainstream. Our sources confirm the green building movement is permanently embedded as standard practice. A 2013 McGraw-Hill construction survey found that the majority of firms expected that over 60% of their work would be in green building by 2015.
Wow, back in 2015 already.
Yeah, and that growth is accelerating globally. It's become a long-term business opportunity. Take leadership in energy and environmental design. Its success is partly attributed to its long, careful 3-year 1995-1998 development process. And crucially, the most important decision was for demand to be market-driven rather than being required by regulation. And interestingly, this market-driven approach has actually led to higher resale values for green buildings, demonstrating a tangible financial return.
That's key.
Yeah. Other systems exist too, like CASB in Japan, which calculates a ratio of environmental benefits to environmental loadings, giving a quantifiable performance measure.
You've really hit on a crucial point there. It's become a fundamental shift in market expectation and market opportunity. It's not just nice to have. The joy of discovery, as one source puts it, in green building extends beyond just design innovation. It includes innovative economic models, a broader understanding of value, and that deliberate market-driven strategy of LEED, with its different rating tools for different project types, offices, schools, homes, neighborhoods, even existing building operations, that's proven highly effective. It incentivizes superior performance, not just ticking compliance boxes. It creates a competitive advantage. And, you can even see historical parallels. Think about the historical preservation movement in England, driven by figures like William Morris, the SAB, Society for the Protection of Ancient Buildings, later the National Trust. While it focused on historical preservation, it mirrors that ethos of valuing and sustaining existing structures rather than just constantly building new. Consider that Ockmall gilding restoration example in the sources, where the bank tore off the stucco and marble and Roman brick and scrupulously restored the original brick and sandstone to match the 1920 photograph.
That takes dedication.
Incredible dedication. It shows a powerful commitment to existing value, durability, a longer life cycle, all core tenets of sustainability today.
That commitment to existing value, to thoughtful stewardship, it's absolutely crucial. And this broader commitment to sustainability is now manifesting in some incredibly innovative design approaches and material choices, fundamentally changing what our buildings can achieve. Hashtag, tag, B. Innovative design and material strategies. Hashtag one. High performance buildings in practice. Yeah, when sustainability is truly integrated from the start, you see remarkable results. The Hearst Tower in New York City is a fantastic example. Achieved LEED gold, then later upgraded to platinum. It's really distinctive diagrid system facade, that strong, efficient diagonal grid of steel on the outside.
Very striking visually.
Very. But it wasn't just looks. It saved 2,000 tons, 1814 metric tons of steel. That's a 20% savings over a conventional design.
Huh?
The building also features extensive use of low emissivity coated glass. That filters out a lot of heat while letting visible light in. It has a highly integrated system of daylighting and artificial lighting with sensors everywhere and occupancy sensors that turn lights on and off depending on whether people are actually in the space.
Smart building tech.
Exactly. All of that together resulted in a 26% reduction in energy consumption compared to a standard building. Plus, it has a rainwater harvesting system collecting water in a huge 14,000-gallon tank in the basement, which they use for the air conditioning system and for irrigating plants inside and out.
And what really comes alive there is that true sustainability isn't just about tacking on a few green features at the end. It's about integrating them holistically, right from the structural design through to the operational systems. That diagrid is a brilliant example. Structural design driving material efficiency and aesthetics simultaneously.
Form and function?
Totally. And the combination of passive strategies like that low-E glass, maximizing daylight with active systems, the smart sensors, rainwater harvesting, it creates this synergistic high-performance building that responds intelligently to its environment and its occupants. It really exemplifies that convergence of bits and atoms people talk about, creating sensible cities. Sensible buildings that aren't just efficient, but responsive, intelligent, constantly optimizing their performance. It's a complete reimagining of what a building can and perhaps should be.
It's truly inspiring to see what's possible when design, technology, environmental awareness all come together from the outset like that. What other future craft, as one source calls it, is possible when these elements are so seamlessly integrated? And for you, listening, someone who thinks about the future of our built world, how does this redefine what luxury even means? Or efficiency? Maybe it's no longer about excessive consumption, but about intelligent, beautiful, and responsible performance. Hashtag 2, materials and passive solutions. But beyond the high-tech marvels like Hearst Tower, a lot of the sustainability drive also involved a renewed focus on passive design and using smart, often traditional material choices. Passive design includes things like direct gain systems, collecting heat inside using thermal mass in floors and walls, movable insulation, roof ponds, vents for cooling, using the building fabric itself to moderate temperature. Open floor plans are also key, right? Allowing for better airflow and ventilation efficiencies, increasing daylight, enabling summer cross-ventilation, all reducing the load on mechanical systems.
Letting the building breathe.
Exactly. Even strategically placed vegetation trees, green walls can shade exterior walls and even shade air, naturally cooling the surroundings. And for insulation, there are advanced options like air-impermeable spray foam insulation applied right under the roof deck. Insulated concrete forms, ICFs, those foam blocks filled with concrete, provide continuous insulation. And materials like autoclaved, aerated concrete, AAC lightweight, precast blocks with great thermal properties.
Yeah, and good architecture, as Frank Lloyd Wright put it, is an embodiment of truth, beauty, and a response to the environment and human needs, which resonates deeply with ancient principles, doesn't it? Like Vitruvius's detailed methods for finding water on a site just by observing plants and animals, showing that early understanding of site responsibility.
Oh, yes. Reading the landscape.
Precisely. Modern materials and passive design often leverage these same natural conditions, as detailed in guides like the Builder's Guide to Hot, Dry, and Mixed Dry Climates, and material choice is critical. Heavy timber, for instance, is increasingly recognized for its sustainability, its carbon sequestration, alongside innovations in wood products, glulam beams, cross-laminated timber, CLT, structural composite lumber offering amazing strength and flexibility. But even traditional methods like using wood nailers for parapet flashing and roof cants are still recognized in building codes for their importance in proper fastening of roofing materials, proving that sometimes the old ways, focused on durability, are still the best.
Right, proven over time.
Think about those ionic columns being 9 to 10 diameters. High, clearly a happier solution for interior height in ancient stoas. Shows an early grasp of structural efficiency linked to aesthetics. Or just the sheer variety of regional building materials used historically in England. Flint, mud, cob, witchet reflecting local resources, local climate. Creating buildings perfectly adapted to place. These are principles that endure, and they're being adapted in our modern sustainable practices.
So these material choices, these design principles, they're not just about environmental performance in isolation. They're also profoundly influenced by and influence that complex landscape of risk we mentioned earlier. Climate challenges, supply chain volatility, evolving contracts. It's clear that everything really is interconnected. Okay, our final pillar, risk and relationships. No construction project, big or small, is ever without risk. That's just the nature of the beast. And in today's complex, interconnected world, managing that risk proactively and fostering strong relationships, both contractual and interpersonal, is more critical than ever before. It's really about building resilience into every single stage of a project. Hashtag A. Proactive risk management and contractual evolution. Hashtag 1. Comprehensive risk strategies. Our sources define risk management pretty clearly. It's a structured process, followed through all project phases to avoid unnecessary risk impacts and realize the potential opportunities that might arise from uncertainty. It involves that continuous cycle. Identify, assess, mitigate, track, resolve, keep iterating. And a key part of this proactive approach, interestingly, is that engagement includes building and maintaining solid relationships through frequent two-way communication.
People talking to each other.
Fundamentally. And for projects or products that are inherently high risk, approaches like modular construction and adaptive design can actually reduce risk by building things modularly, learning, and adapting the design based on that learning as you go. On the ground, construction management CM responsibilities explicitly include establishing robust safety programs, comprehensive emergency response coordination, and rigorously reviewing contractor safety submittals.
And what's truly crucial here, I think, is that this isn't just about avoiding problems, preventing bad things from happening.
Yeah.
It's fundamentally about fostering an environment where opportunities can actually emerge from continuous learning, from adaptation, turning uncertainty into an advantage sometimes. The PMBOK guide emphasizes stakeholder engagement as that continuous process, integrating diverse perspectives to collectively shape a shared solution, getting everyone involved. Modular construction offers remarkable agility, especially in high-risk projects. Building significant portions off-site in controlled environments reduces weather delays, improves quality control, and allows the design and development to adapt based on new info, iterative learning, rather than locking into a fixed plan too early.
More flexibility.
Exactly. And on-site, those detailed safety programs, emergency plans, rigorous reviews, they are absolutely fundamental to mitigating risk, protecting people, protecting timelines. Rasmussen's model for incident causation takes this even deeper, looking at how incidents are caused and propagate to injury by exploring underlying factors like loss of control boundary or pressure for production.
Yeah.
It moves beyond simple root cause analysis to a more systemic understanding of safety failures. Recognizing incidents often stem from complex interactions, not just one single error.
It makes me think of that story about Isambard Kingdom Brunel, the great engineer. Our sources mention his high courage and unfaltering decision to recommend ending the atmospheric experiment for a railway. It was an extremely costly failure at the time, but he made the tough call.
Pulled the plug.
Yeah, and that historical anecdote really highlights the critical importance of decisive risk resolution, even when it means abandoning something you're deeply invested in, not throwing good money after bad. And as projects get more complex, the legal and financial frameworks, the contracts, they have to evolve too, right? To support these risk-aware adaptive approaches. Hashtag 2. Evolving contractual frameworks. Absolutely. The legal and financial underpinnings are evolving rapidly to try and match this new risk landscape. The Project Management Plan, PMP, that critical document the CM prepares, outlines strategies for fulfilling the requirements of the project. Covers scope, budget, schedule, environmental conditions, basic systems, but also, crucially, the basis for claims avoidance, setting expectations clearly up front. Contracts themselves are getting more precise, too, distinguishing clearly between liquidated damages, those justified pre-agreed costs for delays like lost rent.
Yeah, quantifiable losses.
Exactly. Versus penalty charges, which, if they're just arbitrary amounts unsupported by actual costs, are legally problematic, often requiring a bonus clause for early completion to even be enforceable. We're also seeing things like prompt payment provisions in public works contracts more often. These often void those old pay-when-paid clauses, obligating GCs to pay their subs within, say, 30 days, regardless of when they get paid by the owner, helps cash flow down the chain.
Very important for smaller businesses.
Definitely. And for new tech, like BIM, contracts need really clear language about its use, interoperability, the required level of detail, who can access it, to avoid disputes later on.
And this evolution in contracts, it directly reflects that growing need for clarity, for fairness, for accountability across the whole project ecosystem. That PMP, approved by the owner, serves as a vital performance baseline. It's a proactive tool for managing expectations, mitigating disputes before they blow up into claims, ensuring everyone's working from the same playbook. Understanding that legal difference between liquidated damages and arbitrary penalties is absolutely crucial for fair, defensible project management. Like the example, a court might uphold a proven rental loss of a $1,000 day for an overrun, but likely reject an unsupported $20,000 per day penalty. One's justified, the other looks punitive.
Makes sense.
And those prompt payment provisions, they address long-standing, sometimes crippling cash flow issues down the supply chain. Ensuring timely payments for subs improves project stability, reduces financial risk, especially for smaller firms. And yeah, for new tech like BIM, contracts have to be explicit, detailed, anticipating potential risks around data sharing, model accuracy, legal responsibilities across different delivery methods to avoid future arguments and actually encourage wider, confident adoption of these powerful tools.
So ultimately, these sophisticated contracts, they underpin those crucial relationships that really define a project's success, extending out to all stakeholders, the broader public. Not just the main parties signing the document. It's this intricate dance, isn't it? Legal precision on one hand, human connection and trust on the other. Hashtag B. Building relationships and public trust. Hashtag one, stakeholder engagement and communication. And beyond the legal docs, beyond the tech, that human element communication relationships remains absolutely paramount. Our sources define effective engagement as something that delves deeper. It includes awareness of the ideas of others, assimilation of other perspectives, and collective shaping of a shared solution. It's not just telling people things.
It's listening, through collaboration.
Exactly. The CMS establishes a management information system to keep the whole team informed, sets clear standards for distribution, frequency of reports, record retention, all that communication infrastructure. And different types of meetings, pre-construction, regular progress meetings, special issue resolution meetings, they're all crucial for orienting all on-site contractors, for monitoring compliance, and for resolving issues promptly and transparently when they inevitably pop up.
And true engagement, like you said, means far more than just pushing information out. It's about actively integrating those diverse viewpoints, fostering genuine collaboration, making sure all voices are heard and actually valued in the decision-making. Clear lines of communication are vital, preventing that circumventing of formally established lines by the owner, design professional or individual contractors, which just leads to confusion, misinformation, conflict.
Yeah, chaos.
Total chaos sometimes. This continuous, transparent dialogue is absolutely essential for anticipating problems, coordinating efforts efficiently, ensuring alignment with the big picture goals. For the largest developer right down to the smallest subcontractor. And think about the sheer organizational effort involved. That list of components for a construction management plan. Correspondence, distribution matrix, safety program, checklists, listing meetings, sample forms.
That's a lot.
It's a huge amount. But these aren't just bureaucratic hurdles. They are vital tools for maintaining clarity, building trust, and ultimately ensuring the smooth functioning of a really complex project. Hashtag tag 2. The societal role of construction.
So bringing it all together, what does all this mean for society at large? Ultimately, construction is inherently a public act, isn't it? It shapes our communities, dictates how we live and interact, leaves a lasting legacy, good or bad, for generations. Peter Drucker highlighted that decision-making should happen at a level that ensures all activities and objectives affected are fully considered. Taking that broad view, think about Robert Moses in New York. Public works on an unparalleled scale, highways, parks, bridges, immense impact. But he also famously faced fierce preservation battles over historical sites like Castle Clinton.
Power broker.
Absolutely. And then you have Jane Jacobs, almost the counterpoint, emphasizing leveraging the existing presence of working places opportunistically to create effective pools of street use, vibrant urban spaces, warning against the stagnation and dullness that she argued leads to slums. Two incredibly powerful, often opposing philosophies on shaping our cities.
And this mid-century review really brings those profound ethical and social responsibilities into sharp focus for the industry. That existential gratification of engineering we mentioned earlier, it often stems from that feeling of contribution to the welfare of society. But as we saw with figures like Robert Moses, immense power and grand vision can sometimes clash brutally with public sentiment, historical preservation, the needs of existing communities.
The human cost.
Exactly. The sources note Moses' ability to count on the weight of public opinion for many of his plans, contrasted with the fierce attacks on the reformers, that Castle Clinton debate. It shows that complex interplay of public perception, political will, how we value the past versus the promise of the future. And Jacobs' insights constantly remind us buildings don't exist in a vacuum. They're designed,
their density, their placement. It all significantly influences the diversity or vigor of a neighborhood, showing just how deeply intertwined construction is with the social fabric, the economic fabric of daily life. So this review, it's not just about the physical foundations being laid. It's about the societal ones, too, requiring this delicate balance of ambition, ethics, community engagement. It's huge responsibility. Hashtag, tag, outro.
Wow. Okay, so we've taken a pretty deep dive into the state of the construction industry today, uncovering how these persistent challenges attracting a new workforce, the transformative power, finally, of Contech, the absolute imperative of sustainable building, the complexities of risk, how they're all deeply interconnected. What we've really seen is an industry steeped in tradition, yes, but also rocketing towards a potentially incredibly innovative and hopefully responsible future, constantly evolving, trying to meet the demands of a rapidly changing world.
And this really raises that important question again, doesn't it? What we build today, how we build it, and with whom. It will fundamentally shape the physical landscape, the social landscape, for generations to come. There's no escaping that. And this emphasis we've seen emerging on collaboration, holistic design, continuous learning, critical thinking, it's not just about improving efficiency or cutting costs, is it? It's about creating truly resilient, adaptable, and responsible built environments. Environments that genuinely serve humanity's evolving needs, not just for now, but for the long, long term.
We've tried to connect themes from our past deep dives, from ancient built-in techniques right up to modern digital challenges to the urgent realities of the modern job site. But as we look ahead, what will future generations say about these mid-century foundations we're laying right now? Will they see the beauty that Palladio talked about, that beauty resulting from the form and correspondence of the whole with respect to the several parts, of the parts with regard to each other, and of these again to the whole, like that the structure may appear an entire and complete body? Will they see that harmony, that integrity?
Yeah, it's not just about the blueprints, is it? It's about the broader impact of our choices, the integrity of our entire process. Are we as an industry, as a society, truly prepared to understand and embrace that single ever-present thought that Louis Sullivan felt permeated history, which was simply the evolving needs of humanity? And can we align our efforts to create structures that serve those needs with real integrity, with vision, with a deep sense of responsibility? So for you listening to the new influences or is impacted by the built world every day, what stands out to you as the most crucial foundation we absolutely must lay for the future, not just on paper, but in practice on the ground? Something to think about.